In this lecture, I will discuss 7 very effective strategies for reading comprehension. Sorry, Stephen Covey. Alright, the first strategy. Read the questions before reading the passage. This is an important trick because we want to get the scope of what is being asked from the questions. There are 2 to 3 questions being asked for each passage, so it is important to get an overview of them. So see how many questions are associated with the passage. Also, read the first question before reading the passage. That can act as an anchor for you to look for specific information. Also, it can tell you what is the central idea of the passage sometimes, because the answer choices frequently will tell you the main topic of the passage. So, it is productive to read the questions before reading the passage. And they are always there. The questions are always present on the right hand side, so there is no point in not looking at them. Strategy number 2. Does the central idea cover the whole passage? This is an important sanity check that you should do. Whenever you are worried about whether you got the central idea right, ask yourself, does it cover the whole passage or does it cover only a few sentences in the passage? Let's look at this passage. What do you think is the central idea of this passage? Pause this video and give yourself 2 to 3 minutes to read this passage and then think about what is the central idea. These passages are also available as always as a separate PDF. Alright, what do you think is the central idea? Here is the question based on the central idea. The title that best expresses the ideas of this passage is what? Let's look at the answer choices. So based on your understanding of the central idea, the correct answer is, check yourself, B, this neural circuitry of rage. Alright, now we have strategy number 3. For detail-based questions, go back to the paragraph. There is no point in remembering any of the trivial details of passage. So pause this video and read this passage for 2 to 3 minutes and then let's go back to the question. Alright, let's look at the question. According to the passage, which of the following statements regarding so far channels is false? So here you don't have any other option except to check each and every option and see whether it is true or false. Here are our answer choices. So you have to go back to the paragraph and there is no shame in doing so. You can just skip the trivial details and then focus on the question. Here the correct answer is option D. So far channels can also carry light signals, albeit for only small distances. They cannot carry light signals. Okay, strategy number 4. Infer as little as possible. You will find many questions on the GRE about inferring from a passage. Here we have a passage. Give yourself 2 to 3 minutes to read it and then let's look at a question which asks us to infer from the passage. Okay, here is our question. Which of the following statements can be inferred from the information given in the passage? Now I should stress it here. You should infer as little as possible. The information that you can infer should be almost always within the reach of the passage. You cannot make logical leaps from the information given in the passage. Here are our options. So as you can see, if you go back to the passage, it wasn't until 1950 that the medical community felt ready to give vaccination another try. So you can infer from it option C. The safety of polio vaccine was a major concern during its development. And as you can see by reading of the passage, it is almost there. It was just not written, it was just implied. So whatever you want to infer, don't infer too much. Infer almost as little as possible. Think about moving a few inches from the passage. That's it. Strategy number 5. Justify every word in the answer choice. The answer choices on the GRE can be really sneaky. They can put in one extra word or can omit one word, and that can change the meaning of the whole answer choice. So make sure that you justify every word in the answer choice. So pause the video and spend 2 to 3 minutes in reading this passage, and let's go through the question based on justifying every word. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Which of the following statements about Golgi's staining technique is not true according to the passage? Now here you have to use another technique. Go back to the passage. And then let's look at the answer choices. So what do you think? So you have to make sure that you justify every word in the answer choice. So for example, we have revealed only a few cells. Was it only a few cells, or a few cells, or few cells? Or it was the only technique, or it was the best technique? You have to make sure that you understand it. Also, it demonstrated or it indicated. So you have to justify every word in the answer choice. Here the correct answer is option C. Okay, strategy number 6. Beware of extreme words in answer choices. Here is our paragraph. Spend 2 to 3 minutes and then I will discuss the strategy in detail as well. Okay, so what do I mean by extreme words? Extreme words are words like most, the best, always. These extreme words are absolutist. The best, always, again and again, most. So most does not mean all. The best does not mean the only. So you have to be sure what is being talked about. For example, here's our question based on the paragraph given in the previous slide. The author is most likely to disagree with which of the following statements? Again, we have no option but to look back at the passage. Here are our answer choices. Alright, so make sure that the extreme words are justified. For example, always, usually, can, indication. So these are important words because it is an indication or is it a proof? Is it always or is it sometimes or usually? So we have to make sure that we are very cautious about presence of extreme words in answer choices. In this case, the answer is B. Sunspots always occur in pairs and have intense magnetic fields. This is not always true. Alright, strategy number 7 and the last strategy. Use process of elimination for tricky answer choices. Here is our passage. Spend 2 to 3 minutes in reading it and then let's look at the question. Okay, so let's look at the question. What, according to the author, is the problem that arises from determinism? So I can understand if you are coming from a background which is not in philosophy or psychology, this can be a hard passage to read. But don't worry, you can always tackle it using process of elimination if the answer choices are particularly tricky. Here are our answer choices. Here the answer choices are phrased in such a way that they can be a little bit tricky to interpret. So use the process of elimination and use scratch paper to do that, to eliminate any of the obviously wrong answer choices and then make your best guess. Here the correct option is option D. It postulates that current events are fixed by previous events and are thus inevitable. Alright, to summarize, in this lecture I covered the 7 highly effective reading comprehension strategies. Read the questions before reading the passage. That's our first strategy. For main idea or central idea or core of the passage, make sure it covers the whole passage. For detail-based questions, go back to the paragraph to make sure that your answer is correct. Infer as little as possible if asked. Justify every word in the answer choice. Beware of extreme words in answer choices. And finally, use the process of elimination if the answer choices are particularly tricky.